I think Mr. Gulen is almost like a hermit or like a mystic who has a very deep spiritual life. And I think that accounts for the attraction he has to others. What the Hizmet movement does, it has a lot of similarity with Hizmet schools in Turkey. I was there for 10 days. I was born in Bayonne, New Jersey in 1941. I began my studies in theology at the University of Innsbruck, Austria. I went back to the States for a year and then went back to Europe for a PhD at the University of Munich, where I lived for 4 years. I applied for and got a job at Auburn University in Alabama and have taught there for the past 30 years. And I retired in October 2014 and was named Professor Emeritus of Auburn University. I got to get to know the Hizmet movement because I was asked if I wanted to go to Turkey with some VIPs from the Atlanta area to visit the sites of Turkey and, as I found out later, to learn about the Hizmet or service movement. I think the Hizmet movement is akin to a Buddhist movement started by Mr. Aikida, the Soka Gakkai society, or value-creating society. The Hizmet movement is into peacemaking, and they have the idea that it begins with the person, the individual person, and I think spirituality is the basis of the strong emphasis on altruism and making the world a better place in which to live for all humankind. And so I read about 6 of Gulen's books, and I was very taken with his philosophy of life and his strong emphasis on being virtuous. He says that there's the greatest self and the lesser self. The lesser self is egotistical and is always, it's a person who's always pumping up his or her tires, so to speak. But what Gulen preaches is service to others, that in giving ourselves to others, we find ourselves. And he also speaks about the importance of love, love of everyone. He would believe in the axiom, if you disagree with me, you have something to give me. And he would also say, remove from your heart and vocabulary such words as enemy, foe, competition, etc., and emphasize inner peace. I think he asks his followers to be self-sacrificing, to live in a material poor way, and to give what they have of the material goods to others so that they can better their existence. So he thinks that the Western world is oftentimes very materialistic. The whole idea of shop until you drop philosophy that we have, where we have so many malls and people are encouraged to go there and spend time there buying things they don't need that are going to be obsolete, instead of living simply. And his whole message really anticipates the whole environmental message that we have today of saving the planet. So I think he's right on target, and I think what his philosophy is like the wave of the future, how we have to have some kind of poverty of spirit, even though we may have some many things in life, but we have to keep our eyes on the one thing necessary, and that's our relationship to God. The question is raised, how does the Hizmet movement contribute to the common good? I think they believe in love of neighbor to the nth degree, and so paradoxically, for that very reason, because they are so generous and so concerned with others and with global peace, that this movement is often terribly misunderstood, even by people in Turkey. They're not in favor of any one particular party. They're kind of neutral when it comes to politics, and politics isn't where his movement is at. It's more focused on global peace, saving the environment, and being altruistic. And it encourages people to live a virtuous life, being humble, not taking credit. When we were visiting Turkey, a lot of times there were business people who contributed to our meals financially, but they were never named. So their names were always kept anonymous, so that they couldn't kind of like walk down the street with, smoking a big cigar and going like this with their suspenders boinking in and out, like taking credit for being magnanimous. They were told to do this in secret, and that was very admirable. And and also I would say that Gulen got some of his ideas from a teacher who influenced him greatly by the name of Bediüzzaman. And he started reading the writings of Bediüzzaman in 1958, I believe, and was very taken with a lot of Bediüzzaman's ideas. But Bediüzzaman tended to be more an intellectual, whereas Gulen tended to be more pragmatic in his approach to reality and to problems in the world. Gulen wanted the youth of society to be educated and to be heroes of love, and to almost be angelic in the way they comported themselves. And so he established these schools throughout Asia mainly, and actually throughout the world, universities, elementary schools, etc. And and in these schools, he wanted them to stress math and science, and he didn't really teach religion, but he hoped that students would inculcate religious ideals from observing how their teachers modeled their behavior for the students. So that's what I would see his great contributions. It represents Islam because Gulen in his writings has one of his biggest books has to deal with the Prophet Muhammad, may his name be blessed. And what Gulen does is offer Muhammad and the early companions of the Prophet as models for today's youth. And so he also speaks about the tension between Islam and the West. And he thinks the West tends to put too much stress on material values, on getting ahead and making money, whereas he believes that we have to be poor in spirit. In Islam, they have zakat as one of the 5 pillars, and it means giving excess of your wealth to those who need it, to those in need. And so those are the kinds of things that I think the Hizmet movement stresses. The charity activities undertaken by the Hizmet movement are, in one word, fantastic. They're willing to go where there are disasters. They're willing to put themselves out, And they have, it's a very non-hierarchical organization. Mr. Gulen, on a daily basis, has hardly anything to do with the movement. It's carried on in small places, in cells, if you will, of people who want to improve themselves, who are charitable and altruistic, who want to make a dent in their particular community, and who want to do more than just what the run-of-the-mill person does in his or her daily life. They want to make a difference in the world, because we only go around once, and we might as well make the best of it. So they're willing to dig deep in their pockets to help others, to help by educating these young students. They can help them gain entrance into the university and improve their lot and the lot of their family. So it's very admirable. People will always doubt and question one's motives. Jesus had the same problem. He said a prophet is without honor in his own household or in his own village. So this is part and parcel of being a public figure today, and also of movements. There's a lot of misrepresentations of Mr. Gulen. Some people have the idea that he's a secret agent for the CIA, or that he's connected with the Freemasons. These are really, sensational misrepresentations of Mr. Gulen, and it's rather sad that because if anyone has read any of his books, you'll see what a genuine person he is. He's poetical. I have a friend of mine, a Jesuit scholar, who visited Mr. Gulen, and he said that Mr. Gulen was very shy. He visited him in his home in Pennsylvania. He hardly made eye contact. He listened more than he spoke. And this particular Jesuit priest had met with 2 or 3 popes, and he said he was more impressed with Mr. Gulen than any of these popes that he had met. He said that he had the feeling that he was in the presence of a very holy person, even a mystic. And I would say that a mystic is a person who is totally without their own ego, who is totally connected with God, so that they would prefer really to pray in the silence of their own heart with God rather than to speak to other people. So in many ways, I think Mr. Gulen is almost like a hermit or like a mystic who has a very deep spiritual life. And I think that accounts for the attraction he has to others, because he's really one of the great charismatic figures of our century, like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. and Mother Teresa and people of that sort.
I do think that the efforts to create schools all over the globe which reflect those values of dialogue, of openness, of diversity, and one of the best things that is being done in the name of the Hizmet movement.
My beliefs about Mr. Gulen is that he's a wise man. He's a spiritual man. He's a visionary.